There's nothing like a closing keynote in this industry when everyone's thinking about their first cold beer to know that you'll be packing them in. So for those who are here, thank you very much. What I'm going to do today is we're going to have a little bit of a game because I always have this thing with any presentation I do. I like the slides to be as big a surprise to me as they are for the audience. And then as they come up, we see where it goes. We see what we develop. We see how we leave. We get the buzz. We're ready to go. We go and have a beer, and we just crack on. Okay, so those of you who don't know me, I'm David Stalker, and I've been in this industry since they were using wooden clubs as opposed to dumbbells, and started my career as a personal trainer, 1988 or 89, something like that. Many of you won't have been alive. And I'm chair of Box 12, was chief executive of MyZone, and sit on various boards. I'm the president of Europe Active, and was the person who started UK Active when it moved from the Fitness Industry Association, and who got SimSpur. So everyone goes, gosh, you did an awful lot, but the truth is that I was surrounded by really good people, and I just try to pull it all together. And some things have worked and some things that haven't. So as I've done presentations over time, you start feeling like you're repeating yourself a lot. Well, those of you who know me will maybe know that I was born and brought up in Kenya. That's where I spent my childhood. I left Kenya in 1989 when I became a personal trainer in the UK. And I used to take people on safari, and that's what I did. And conservation was my thing, and conservation was what my family did. And I arrived in the UK in 1989, and there was no call for elephant tracking in Windsor Great Park. There was no opportunity to track anything other than the odd rabbit, fox, or deer. And I thought, I only have one skill set, and that's the ability to find animals. And arrived in the UK. And I played a fairly decent level of rugby, but it wasn't a professional sport then, so that wasn't an option either. So I ended up in this fantastic industry we're in. But what I'm going to try and do is, as we're talking, I'm going to try and relate things back to the world of conservation, and see how we as an industry can be looking at things that are happening in the animal kingdom, in the world, that we embraced it. If we took advantage of these things, then I think we would drive our industry further forward. And I'm taking this conversation with a view that we need to start making a massive difference and have an enormous opportunity to do that. Some of us may think we already are. Most of us know we're only skimming the surface of where we could be doing. So I'm going to start with it's a 1.5 minute video, because if that's the only thing you remember, this is a video, a friend of mine who has a helicopter company in Kenya, and I hopefully will set the scene of the country I was born in and where my life was, and the fact that people weren't a big part of it, but space was and conservation was. And then we'll crack on and talk about various things. And when slides come up, there will be words that I won't even mention, largely because I can't see them because I'm looking at you, and I won't know they're there. So let's crack on. So why do I show a picture of Africa, say I know all about animals and there isn't a single animal on it? Who here, if anyone, has been to Kenya? Anyone? 1, 2, 3 people have been here. It's an enormous country, and what you saw there was a lot of space. Lake Turkana as a lake is about the size in, well, London to Manchester and maybe a little bit further, and that is the size of that. Africa is this enormous continent, and it's a continent which is based around resilience, and the things that live in it need to deal with resilience every day in order to survive. And in our industry, we need to look towards resilience. And why do we need to look towards resilience? Because if we're going to get to the point where we are coping with the adversity that we deal with, we have well, you all know it's a lion. It's a male lion, and therefore really lazy by trait, but really healthy and fit, determined in every way, and needs to take care of its body at all times. Because if it doesn't take care of its body, and if it doesn't drive its health, and it doesn't drive forward, and inevitably in the end, one day, another lion's going to come around, and he's going to knock him off his pride, and he's going to take that pride away from him. And there'll be an awful lot of infanticide, because he'll kill all the cubs in order to bring the female into estrogen so that he can have a whole load of cubs of his own. You lot don't need to do that. It's not part of what is happening in your world. But we have been banging the fitness drum for how long? And which is the point where we understand that the drum we need to look at is the health drum. This is the point where we as an industry need to understand, and it is absolutely key, that we move from being fitness delivery partners to health delivery partners. If I'm to think of one thing that disappointed me most out of coming out of COVID, was we were given the greatest opportunity, a population for the first time that was interested, in fact terrified about not being healthy. It was an absolute golden ticket to this industry. You know, people were giving up on the lollipops and eating more cabbage. Whatever it happens to be, they were changing the way they were. And did we embrace it? Did we make a difference? Did we get around? And did we say we are health delivery partners? Yep. You can ask yourselves this as operators, as independent operators, as suppliers to this industry. Do you consider yourself fitness delivery partners or health delivery partners? You have to move that mindset, because if we are going to make a difference, if we are going to become relevant to the world, if we are going to become relevant to making a difference to society, if we are going to save our National Health Service from going bankrupt at the point of entry, then the people in this room have to make the move. They have to make the move of understanding that you are delivering life-changing opportunities, life-changing things. It isn't the biggest biceps, it's not the fastest run, it's not all those things, it's who can't get out of a chair. That's what counts. That's what counts, all those people. And we have a right, we have a responsibility in this industry to do that. We have everyone in here who started their career as a fitness instructor made that decision based on the fact that they wanted to change people's lives. They absolutely wanted to change people's lives. They wanted to make sure that in that gym that people wanted to be fit and healthy. They want to be as fit and as healthy as that lion, or as fit and healthy as a bee has to be in order to get round, in order to deliver the pollen and make everything happen. All that had to happen. So if we're going to do that, and with the great big drive on the importance of mental health, then make it part of your vision. You are sitting in just the most fantastic seat in order to do that. And in order to do that, we have to embrace teamwork. We have to start looking not just amongst our teams, of course you do, amongst your teams in terms of your clubs, but teamwork's in terms of all the operators in a particular area. If we are health delivery partners, who is the first person who is going to prick up their ears and see us as a problem? The person who's going to see us as a problem is the pharmaceutical industry, because guess what? They can't patent what we can do. They can't patent what we can do. The other thing they can't do is teamwork. They can't pull together. They can't be the matriarch elephant who leads her herd through the savannah of Serengeti or wherever it happens to be, regardless of drought, make sure that the rest of the herd goes there, creates the roots, knocks over the various trees that become the feeding grounds for wildebeest, and all that thing. They are, through synergy, through time, through evolving, are doing what we, as a more apparently intelligent species, should be doing. We should be making sure that we are embracing teamwork, because the key behind teamwork is the net result that we are the community. No one can own communities like our industry can own communities. They just can't do it. They can't do it because the pharmaceutical industry is a broad base. I'll give you an example. As president of Europe Active, which is bizarre because I'm obviously English and we're not in Europe anymore. So as the least popular member who attends the European Parliament, they used to dislike me more when I first went, because I used to sit around and I was president and there was 29 other countries around the table, and at lunchtime they used to bring the sandwiches and I was president, and they'd put the sandwiches on the table and I'd go, hold on a second, there's 7 sandwiches for me, 7 for Germany, 6 for France, Greece you can go and buy your own, and in an attempt of lost humour, in the European Parliament, but they kept me. They voted me in again. I'm still going there. I still get to see top people over there. Yet I attended a forum in the European Parliament chaired by the current president, who you all know. You may have an opinion on her or not. I won't share mine. But it was an event chaired, and it was about how do we embrace fitness and health across Europe. And there was about 200 delegates. I was the only one from the fitness industry. Yeah, there was about 190 delegates from the pharmaceutical industry. 190 delegates of the pharmaceutical industry, they're saying, hey, we better keep an eye on these guys. Hey, maybe we can produce a Zempic and we'll get through in that way, or whatever it happens to be, in order to drive to the final condolences. But we need to work in teamwork. We know that elephants do, and a matriarch elephant leads from the front, setting the path. We all know the alpha wolf is set at the back, and make sure that the worst common denominators, the injured, the old, the young, are pushed ahead, never letting anyone fall off the pack, never losing anybody from the community. So if we move from fitness to health, and we involve teamwork, and we embrace our community, then we are starting to have the opportunity to really make a difference. And every single person in this room who goes back to their clubs, goes back to their facilities and looks at it, and you've got your business plan, and you know how many memberships you're trying to drive, and you know where you're trying to get to, I'm saying to you, so add to that. Where are the lateral views? What is our effort to move into health? Are we sending fitness instructors down to the local pensioners' home and doing aerobic sessions or walking sessions, or just taking them out at no fee to us? We can do that. We stand alone of having the ability to own our community. So we're moving from fitness to health, and then we are delivering, and the reason we deliver is because we are community deliverers, and we have teamwork, and we work together across the thing. How many people in their area actually have a forum where they work with their local David Lloyd manager, their local Pure manager, their local single site manager, their local leisure centre manager? How many of them get together and all say, how do we make a difference in this community? How do we make a difference in the community? You've got different demographics, but the people are all in your community. So work together, bring yourself together, embrace the opportunity, make it happen. Make it happen, because if we make it happen, then it is possible to go to governments and go to people and say, actually, we need to be top of the agenda, not top of the agenda at the Department of Cultural and Media and Sport, but top of the agenda at the Department of Health. That has to absolutely happen. And we have to use our... hold on a second. I'm going to go back. No, I'm not. I'll come to that later. So we have to use instinct and intuition to drive this forward. And we have to look at, and I really would ask you all to take the opportunity to look at the world of conservation. Look at animals and see how they go on instinct and intuition to make a difference. An ant's, leafcutter ants or safari ants or whatever they happen to be, they have their instinct and intuition. If you stand, as you may choose to, on a pile of safari ants, and anyone, you probably don't know safari ants, they've got a nasty bite. In Africa, they're often used for stitches. If you've got a cut, you get them to bite on each side of the cut, and they make an interesting set of stitches. Well, you do when you're a child in Africa, and you think that's funny, and then you go home, and your mother says, no, put some Dettol on it. But when those ants are stood on, the instinct and intuition and the message that is automatically passed back across that whole colony is, these ants have died, this many worker ants, this many ants who deal with security, this many guard ants, this, and so on and so forth. And it goes back to the ant heap, and instantly, as the young are being produced, they reproduce and change the reproduction in order to cover for what has gone, to make sure that they've always got the right amount of people representing them, always got the right amount of things that are happening. A Cape buffalo, probably not the most attractive of animals, but a Cape buffalo knows that it can be killed by a pride of lion, probably not by an individual lion. But using instinct and intuition, it has worked the path. By working in partnership with that guy on his head, who not only gets rid of his ticks, but tells him about if there's predators around, he has worked out what to do and how to survive in an ultimately harsh climate. And what we have to do is we have to look at that and say, so in our environment, how are we going to do that? How are we going to drive those standards forward? How are we going to drive our training standards so they're always going up? Absolutely aiming for the pinnacle. I keep seeing courses, more and more courses, where people are saying can be done online, can be done in about half an hour. Be a fitness instructor before you leave the room. Frankly, what are we thinking here, guys? We should be driving these absolutely to the top. We should be looking at the standards. There's nowhere in the world of wildlife or the world of conservation where being poor or aiming for the gutter results in anything other than being obsolete. That is the net result. Yet, we are in danger of doing that. We have a chartered institute, and those who don't know, I was the first chairman of SIMSPA, and to get that charter mark was 2012. 2012, the Olympics? It's 2012. And I went with others, to DCMS and to Privy Council to say that our fitness instructors, our people, the people in this room deserved a charter mark because we were as significant and as professional as lawyers, marketeers and accountants and all those people. And on the back of 2012 and a lot of bullshit, they said yes. Yeah, they said yes, and they said, if he's going to keep talking, give them a bloody charter mark. Yeah, but they gave a charter mark, and I thought I was going to end up being the first head on the tower and having to hand it back because we just haven't responded how we must do. We have to be driving the standards of our courses that are being delivered by many people I can see in this room or being written by people in this room up. And you lot should not accept anything else. It's not an excuse to say, well, we can get a qualification for that. It's not acceptable. It's not acceptable. The qualification needs to be good enough to deliver everything you want. Because if we're going to crack that move from fitness to health, if we're going to be community delivery partners, and if we are going to drive standards up through the roof, and we're going to raise teamwork, and we're going to use our instinct and intuition, and we're going to be resilient, and absolutely all those things, then we have to look first at the people who are working for us and are out there doing that, and the people in this room, and say, are we giving them the skills to do that? So, who knows? I know a couple of people in the front know who this is. Does anybody else recognize this character? Yeah? Yeah. Okay, this is a mantis shrimp. Yeah, a mantis shrimp covered in cocktail sauce is delicious. But skipping past that, the mantis shrimp is the most powerful animal beast in the world. Yeah, he's only little, but why is he so powerful? Because he's called a mantis shrimp. I call him a punching prawn because he can generate, with the power of a punch, the same temperature and speed. The temperature generated by the speed is the same as that of the sun. That's the temperature he delivers. He cannot be kept in an aquarium because with one little flick, he'll break the tank. Yeah, he is a super powerful guy. Don't mess with him. Don't mess with him unless you come up from the back with your cocktail sauce, sneak it on the back and get him quick, because he's a powerful animal. So why am I bringing him up? I'm bringing him up because, for me, he's our industry. I want everybody, supplier, operator, training provider, doesn't matter what you do in this industry, from your fitness instructors to your salespeople, everybody out there should be a mantis shrimp, getting the impact and making the difference and making sure that we're embracing those 4 key words at the bottom. The move from fitness to health, the drive, the absolute drive. It got to happen. Own your communities. Own your communities. Drive those standards. And when we've got those 3 together, then digitally we're able to produce all the information which verifies the fact. They always said that information, was the oil of one time, and actually the truth is it's the gathering of that digital information, the gathering of the proof that we make a difference. I'm not lying, people, when I tell you it takes you from a successful business to a multi-successful business. It will drive your performance through the roof just by changing that mindset. Just by saying, I am going to get into my community, delivering a health solution. I won't accept second-rate standards. I'm behind my industry. I'll work with all the people. I'll make sure my fitness instructors get it. I'll make sure it's not about ego. I'll make sure I lead them, whether you're the wolf or the elephant or you're whatever animal it happens to be. It doesn't matter. And then drive them forward. And then all those blooming mantis shrimps all hitting at 5,000 degrees centigrade. And once upon a time, I've had the dubious privilege of having gone to 10 Downing Street to see 4 separate prime ministers. And I say dubious privilege because it's always nice to go to Downing Street. It absolutely served no purpose whatsoever. They were very civil, they were very nice, they were very interested, and they said, prove that you can make a difference. Prove it. Statistically prove it. You all can do it. You all can do it. So when you're asked to share data, do it. Don't try and hide it. Share it. Let's build the stories. Let's build the case studies. Let's get out there and say we're going to make that difference. So I'm going to leave you with that one thought, and I know that Pandora's box probably came up on one of those slides at some point. Well, who knows the myth behind Pandora's box? I don't know how many Greek scholars there are amongst us. This is where I turn into Boris Johnson. Pandora, I think it was Zeus, 700 BC. Don't quote me on that. Might have been 500. And what he did to Pandora was given a box, and in that box was just, well, she didn't know what was in that box, but he said, no matter what you do, don't open that box. Pandora, directly related to my wife, opened that box, and out of it flew everything: evil, death, hatred, petulance. All this flew out of the box. She slammed it shut. There was only one thing left in that box. And the one thing left in that box was hope. Yeah? And my hope, and the hope we can all have, is that you people in this room and those people out there and your staff back at your sites or in your companies or selling your treadmills or selling your training courses can deliver a set of mantis shrimps that deliver health, that deliver better standards, that embrace the community, and then we can stand up and we are the industry we deserve to be. And our National Health Service survives as free at the point of entry. If you're willing to take that responsibility, which you each and every one should, then all I ask is for you to embrace that. So those of you who came in and listened to me rant and get more words out years ago when I was running clubs, my left hand got known as Emu by all the people who used to work for me, and they used to say, oh, Emu's really angry the more worked up I get. I have a habit of doing that, and they go, Emu's looking for seeds. And so I apologize for Emu, but I can say if I didn't have this in my hand, there'd be double Emu. I want it to happen. You want it to happen. We need it to happen. Let's make it happen. Now we've probably all earned a beer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. Any questions in the room? We've got a couple of minutes. Andy?
Thanks, David. So you spoke about forums with local operators. That is something that I have tried in my area, and I have an equal frustration to yourself in that a large perspective of our industry as a whole is dominated by large budget operators who deliberately set their sites up knowing that they will not be able to fulfill the demands of their membership base. There is no way that they could serve 10, 15, 20% of their membership base if they decided to actually use the gym. So that's kind of part one. How can we work with those operators whose model is based around people not using their service? And then the second part is with the impact of the mantis shrimp. I myself have quite a temper, and I've sent an email previously which resulted in me being kicked off of the UK Active Independent Operators Council, and it was expressing my frustration at how things were handled during COVID, especially with regard to independent gyms not getting the media coverage that bigger gyms did. Now, I would feel like in nature, if an animal that was part of a pride made a mistake, they would be disciplined, and then they would learn from that mistake rather than just being forced to be an outcast. So when someone like myself who has this passion, has all these frustrations, is simply just getting shunned by the industry in favor of these bigger operators who deliberately are not serving the people that they're setting out to, I think I could speak for all of us when it makes it say it's easier for us to focus inwards and to focus on ourselves as independents rather than trying to see this bigger picture, because we're just constantly rebuffed. So how can we get around that? Because everybody here has the same passion as yourself, but how do we get around the people in this industry that serve such a large portion of it who simply do not care?
Yeah, it's a really, I'm gonna break that down into a couple of components. Firstly, spotted my first mantis shrimp. I like that. Yeah, and it doesn't matter how many times you're not, but UK Active, and if anybody in this room should be passionate about UK Active, it should be me, have no right to do that. Yeah, they should be embracing that. But that's a separate issue. In terms of the budget sector, we have to understand that the budget sector model is not aiming really at the people who are going to have the vast majority. Yeah, they're aiming at, many of them don't have an induction procedure. Many of them you're not going to see anybody. There's nothing personal about it. It's a gathering of fitness equipment. That is the model. I'm not knocking the model because that's what they've chosen to do. For me, they are crucial because they are adding numbers to a healthier society. They tend to be healthier people. Yeah, I am thinking that your opportunity, because I saw you were upstairs earlier when they were talking about marketing. I think that I would see them as irrelevance in what you're trying to do, but they are creating more awareness of what fitness is about. Yeah, them not coming to a forum with other people in your area, yeah, that I can tell you, I know the chief executives and chairmen of all those big organizations, they would be really disappointed to hear that. Yeah. So, and I don't doubt that you're telling the truth, but I guess we need to continue working. The door being slammed in your face, the door being slammed in the face, and it will be time and time again. You've just got to keep going. The fact that their model cannot survive if everybody turned up, that's their choice. That's absolutely their choice. My view is that as an industry, we should be trying to get more people interested in exercise. So they may go and walk the dog. They may go do whatever. Then they get more interested, and then they make a decision about what kind of facility they want to go into, and that you might be their choice. David Lloyd might be their choice. It might be whatever it happens to be will be where they end up going. At the budget sector, they are just trying to drive the numbers through. My view is as those people become more educated in what they require and look for service and look for different delivery and don't receive necessarily the outcomes they're looking for, then they're going to come to your facilities. Because people love people. Behavior breeds behavior. If you go to one of those sites and your response is, I just am getting no feedback, for some that's fine. But for a lot, eventually, they want to see a difference. They want to see that change. So I embrace your frustration. I'm with you on supporting that. I will find out more about your own personal journey at UK Active because I'm curious about that. But I would say if you set out to get your people in your region together as an operators group and it doesn't come together, then give me a call and let's see if we can do it again and let's see if we can do it together. Because why wouldn't they? I can't understand it. Why wouldn't they? So I sit outside of your group. I've got nothing to gain by it. But let's make it a test bed. Everyone should be doing it. But the challenges are there. I'm not saying it's easy. None of this is easy.
Great question. Great question. Any more questions? I think we're done. Oh, we have a question. We have a question.
Thank you very much, David. I really enjoyed that. It was very passionate. I think I very much share your view that the fitness industry has a wider role to play. And this really sort of came to the forefront for me earlier this year. Just for everyone's benefit, my name's Sam. I'm representing Fitness Genes here. We're a DNA testing company. And I was going out, we're a preventative health service making recommendations on food and nutrition primarily. But because we're in preventative health, the government have been talking a lot about preventative health in the health services. I was speaking to a lot of GPs within the primary care sector. They're coming back to me and they're saying, this is great, but can it help me with these 20,000 diabetic patients I've got over here? The answer obviously is no, because they've already been diagnosed. Another GP said to me, your test creates a problem for me because it brings 5,000 people with hemochromatosis, for example, to my door, and I've got to deal with them, and I don't have the time to deal with them, even though I know dealing with them circumvents a problem 20 years in the future when those people are all having liver replacements. So I guess my question is, how do we... I see, therefore, the fitness industry is the right home for us in terms of preventative health, but how do we work with the wider health services? What is that relationship between the fitness industry and primary care look like, where we've got particular conditions, say, where there is more of a medical requirement, such as familial hypercholesterolemia, where that's high cholesterol. These people need to be on statins, so there's sort of a requirement for a referral.
Firstly, know your product. Unbelievable product. I get sent through a report on something every so often and read it and just have a sigh of a relief that I'm not going to die that week. But no, it's phenomenal what you feed me in terms of knowledge. But to go to your question, we've known forever and a day that lifestyle diseases are fundamentally easiest solved in our facilities. We know that's that. But going back to the thing, we need to be solving those problems before they become lifestyle diseases. And what you're seeing, and rightfully, is GPs are saying, I've already got these people have got these problems and they're already there. I'll give you an insight to how difficult I think the challenge you're talking about is, but it's not a reason not to embrace it. A long time ago, in UK Active, we did a, I think there was 2,000 people, and it was in the Kent region, and they were all at the start of high cholesterol and would have been given statins to deal with it. And we did a program with them where these 2,000 people were given free gym membership. It was paid for by the local authority in the health sector. They were given free personal training. They were given all the things that were needed to get them in, but they had to do it. And they all, over the period of a summer, completed that course. And it was a huge amount of people. And when we reviewed the data at the end, every single one of them had got their cholesterol level down to a safe level. Every single one of them had changed how they looked in the mirror. Every single one of them was fit and healthy. And I was the most excited chief executive of UK Active ever. And I think Andrew Lansley was health secretary at that point. And I went to see Andrew Lansley and I said, we've cracked it. You're going to need to put fitness membership on prescription because we have absolutely cracked it. And I showed him the data and he said, that is great, Dave. When do the exit questionnaires come back? And I said, well, they're out there and we can't wait for them to come back because that was the final bit we needed. And the majority of people replied, and remember this is 2,000 people replied, and every single one without exception said they felt cheated. They would rather have had a tablet. Yeah. was a more depressing trip to see Andrew Lansley with that bit of news. But going to your point, this is the challenge we have with the public, because we need to move the moving into exercise right from childhood. It needs to be right there. We know, and you'll know much better than I do, that people who start there, they avoid all of that journey, and the later you come on it, the harder it is to avoid that journey. And we have the data, we have the proof on lifestyle diseases. I think there are two things when you're dealing with the Department of Health and you're dealing with the National Health Service and you're dealing with these doctors. They wouldn't say it, but I believe there's a pharmaceutical challenge in terms of that they've got to be funded, and we hear everything that's happened, and we haven't satisfied them on the data. So I think we need to keep driving the data. We need to convince the population of UK that actually being fit and healthy is quite good and actually quite good fun. And it might just be walking the dog. But David, with dog, brought him in especially for that line. But that's not what we need to do. It is hugely challenging. It is hugely challenging, and with the government we have now, my view, it's going to be challenging for quite a bit. But that does not mean that you don't look at your facilities and make your own decisions about making that change to be health delivery partners. That doesn't mean you don't try and embrace yourself in the community. That doesn't mean that you don't drive your trainers and instructors to top standards, because the time is coming, so we have to keep knocking at the door. And you have to support your academics. You have to support your trade associations. You have to support your chartered institutes. You have to support your data providers. You have to support the people who are producing equipment and the rest of it. And we have to work as a collective. Nothing in the natural world survives by being focused purely on its own journey. Nothing. Why humans have decided that we step above this, why we are separate from this. We need to be working together in order to make a difference. They all do. They just do, and you can see it. And I stand here and I'm really proud of this industry. I didn't get the job I really wanted, which was taken by Mr. Attenborough, but I am where I am, and I want those manta shrimps. I want to drive forward, and I'm going on, and I know you're really thirsty. So I think we'll call it a day there. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Thank you.